Welcome to Mind's Eye Horror, where the stories you'll hear tonight aren't just from the shadows, they are the shadows. If you're ready to confront the unknown, make sure you're not alone. Keep listening, because the darkest corners of the mind are about to be explored. And make sure you stay till the end, because I saved the scariest story for last. Let's begin. 1. The mask that made me famous. It started with a trip to a small garage sale on the outskirts of town. I wasn't expecting much, just a way to pass the time. I was a struggling artist, desperate for recognition, drowning in the silence of unfulfilled dreams. My apartment was bare, save for a few canvases I never finished, half-empty paint jars, and a sense of failure I couldn't shake. My hands were covered in paint from my last attempt, an abstract piece I'd worked on for days, only to leave it looking like a mess of colors. The sale was filled with old furniture and useless knickknacks, the kind of stuff that looked like it had never been touched in years. Old lamps, stacks of books no one would ever read, faded vinyl records, and cracked porcelain figurines. I was about to leave, disappointed, when something caught my eye. A mask. It was strange, almost beautiful, but also unsettling. Its craftsmanship was unlike anything I'd ever seen. The eyes were deep, hollow, and the expression on the face was something between a grin and a grimace. It was the type of mask you'd expect to see in ancient rituals, or maybe in a horror movie. There was something about it that I couldn't look away from. A cold, unexplainable draw. $20, the seller said, eyes flickering between me and the mask. If you want it. I didn't hesitate. I knew it was ridiculous to spend that much money on something I didn't need, but for some reason, I felt I had no choice. It was like something inside me told me I had to take it. I handed over the money, wrapped the mask in a faded cloth, and headed home. When I first wore it, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it would be uncomfortable, strange, maybe a bit unsettling. But when I looked at myself in the mirror, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: clarity. I wasn't just looking at myself anymore. It was as if the mask was unlocking a part of me, some hidden potential that I didn't know existed. Ideas flooded into my head, images of masterpieces, intricate details I could never have conceived of before. I spent hours painting, almost obsessively, my hands working faster than my mind could process. Every stroke felt perfect, as if guided by an unseen force. I created things I never thought I could: portraits, abstract pieces, dark figures that seemed to move on the canvas. I was consumed by it, by the creation, by the rush of power it gave me. For the first time in years, my work wasn't just good, it was breathtaking. And then, when I posted my first piece online, it went viral. Within hours, my inbox was flooded with messages. People were praising my work, begging me to sell my art, to make more. I was getting commissions from people I'd never met, strangers from all over the world. My followers skyrocketed, and I felt on top of the world. I had done it. I'd finally found my place in the art world. But the more I wore the mask, the more I began to change. At night, I would sit in front of the mirror, just staring at the mask. There was something about it that felt alive. I wasn't sure what it was, but I couldn't ignore it. The more I wore it, the more I felt this strange pull, a power I had never known before. My dreams began to change. I saw myself in other places, other worlds. Dark, twisted landscapes filled with bizarre creatures. In these dreams, I was a god, creating life with a flick of my hand. At first, I thought they were just dreams. But then, I began to see the same creatures in my paintings. I spent nights painting without rest. My artwork grew darker, more distorted. It was as if the mask had a life of its own, guiding my hands, pushing me to create something else, something more. It wasn't about the art anymore. It was about something deeper, something more sinister. The voices started soon after. They whispered in the back of my mind, urging me to paint more, to take things further. The more I listened, the more my artwork began to evolve. I painted images of death, of grotesque figures, of monstrous faces grinning from the canvas. I painted landscapes that seemed to bleed, rivers of red running through twisted forests. And every time I finished a piece, I felt the rush again, the exhilaration, the power. But it wasn't enough. I started losing time. Days would pass, and I wouldn't even realize it. I would wake up in front of a canvas, covered in paint, the mask still on my face. I couldn't remember how long I had been working, what I had been thinking, but the art kept flowing. The pieces were darker, twisted, and more violent. I felt disconnected from the world, from myself. I was obsessed. My family started to worry. Friends tried to reach out, but I was too far gone. I would lock myself away, painting for hours on end. I couldn't stop. The mask wouldn't let me. It wasn't just about the fame anymore. It was about creation, about bringing the darkness to life. I couldn't take the mask off. One night, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection. The mask had changed me. I no longer recognized myself. My face was gaunt, pale, my eyes hollow, but the mask had stayed. It was part of me now. I was no longer the artist. I was the creation. One night, as I finished yet another piece, I heard the whispering again. It wasn't just in my head anymore. It was around me, in the air, seeping into my very skin. I felt the mask pressing against my face, suffocating me, controlling me. The voice in my head became clearer, stronger. Create. Take it further. Bring it to life. I stood up, panicked, feeling the mask slipping, but I couldn't pull it off. It was glued to my face, my skin now part of it. The whispers grew louder, overwhelming. It was as if the mask was feeding off me, consuming me, drawing me deeper into its power. When I looked into the mirror one last time, I saw not just my reflection, but something else. The mask wasn't just an accessory anymore. It was me. I had become the mask. I couldn't escape. The mask had taken everything. My life, my soul. I was no longer an artist. I was a vessel for something darker, something twisted, and now I wear it forever. If you're enjoying the darkness, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Stay with us. There's more terror ahead. 2. The Abandoned Highway. It was supposed to be a simple road trip, a way to clear my head. I'd been working nonstop for weeks, and I was ready to get away, to feel the freedom of the open road, the kind of freedom where the world disappears behind you, and all you have is the road stretching out ahead. No destinations, no obligations, just me, the car, and the endless highway. The plan was simple. Take a detour, avoid the main roads, and explore a bit. I was looking for something new, a change of scenery. I had been following my GPS when it suggested a detour off the main route. It seemed harmless at first, just another stretch of road leading to nowhere. But the further I drove, the more the signs seemed off. The highway seemed old, almost forgotten. The pavement cracked and weathered, the trees on either side thick and dense, as if they hadn't been touched in years. The road stretched out in front of me, but something felt wrong. The air had grown colder, and the silence was overwhelming. I checked my phone, no signal. That's strange, I thought, but no big deal. I've driven through dead zones before. I kept driving, convinced it was just my mind playing tricks. The deeper I went, the more unsettling it became. The trees were too dark, the shadows too long. And then I saw it, a sign, partially obscured by overgrown vines. Abandoned highway. Enter at your own risk. I should have turned around, but something pulled me forward, as if the road itself was calling to me. As I drove deeper, I began to see cars. But these cars weren't like the ones I was used to. They were old, rusted, and unmarked, with no license plates. I passed one after another, all parked on the side of the road, empty. I slowed down, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. Something wasn't right. I pressed my foot on the gas, desperate to get out of there. But as I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw headlights approaching. There was no one behind me, no car, no driver, just headlights following me. I decided to stop at a small, run-down gas station ahead. The sign was barely visible. The letters faded, but it was the only place around. The station was deserted. No cars, no people. Just an old gas pump and a flickering light. I stepped out of the car and walked over to the pump. I didn't know what I was doing, maybe. I thought I was hallucinating. Or maybe I was just desperate to feel like I wasn't alone. The moment my foot touched the ground, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, but no one was there. A figure emerged from the darkness, a man, tall and thin, with hollow eyes and a smile that didn't quite reach his face. "You lost?" he asked, his voice too calm. "I'm just passing through," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm looking for the main road." "You're on it," he said with a grin. I felt a cold chill run through me. The road had shifted. The familiar path had disappeared. The gas station was no longer where it had been. The world around me felt wrong. I couldn't explain it, but everything had changed. As I looked around, I saw the cars again. The same rusted, unmarked vehicles parked by the side of the road. The figures standing next to them, staring into the distance, their eyes blank. I turned to leave, but the road was gone. It had become a dead end. As I tried to turn around, I realized that I couldn't go back. The road was a loop, and it was closing in on me. The figures in the distance started to move closer, their eyes fixed on me. They weren't human. They were shadows, shapeless, shifting, and terrifying. I was trapped. The road was endless, looping around me like a snake. There was no escape, and the road, the highway, had a life of its own. It had swallowed me whole. I still drive the same highway over and over again, never getting any closer to my destination. The road keeps calling me back. The same shadows, the same unmarked cars, always watching. And I realize now, the road doesn't want me to leave. If you're enjoying the darkness, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Stay with us, there's more terror ahead. Story number 3, The Watcher in the Walls. I never believed in ghosts, but then again, I'd never lived in an old house. Not until I moved in here. The place was perfect, spacious, quiet, secluded. The landlord was nice, the rent cheap, and I couldn't pass it up. But from the moment I stepped inside, something felt off. It wasn't the house itself, it was the way the air felt thick, heavy. It was as though the house had a presence, a history that wasn't mine. But I ignored it. I figured it was just my imagination. I should have listened when they said the house was settling, but that wasn't it. I heard something at night, a soft scratching, a tapping. It was almost like someone was walking inside the walls. I thought I was imagining it. I wasn't. At first, it was just faint sounds, little taps here and there. Maybe it was the pipes, I told myself. But then it grew louder, more distinct, like footsteps. Someone walking just below the surface of the walls, in the dark, where no one should have been. And one night, I heard a whisper. It was so faint, I thought it was just the wind. But when I leaned in closer to the wall, I heard it again. "Let me out." The whispering didn't stop. And then, one night, I found it. A small door hidden behind a bookshelf. I pushed it open, and inside, I found something that made my blood run cold. The room was small, covered in dust and cobwebs. But it wasn't the room that was unsettling. It was what was on the walls. Carved into the wood were strange symbols, familiar symbols. Symbols I had seen before, in my dreams. As I explored the room further, I found something else. Old photographs, faded images of the house, of people I didn't recognize. But in the background of every photo, there was something watching. A shadow, a figure. It wasn't in the room with them, but it was always just outside of the frame, staring through the windows. I thought I could leave, but as I turned to go, I felt something move behind me. The walls were alive. The whispering was louder. And then, the door slammed shut. The figure's still here. And now, it's not just in the walls. It's inside me, too, watching from the corner of my mind. The house never lets go. If you've made it this far, don't let the darkness slip away. Subscribe to Mind's Eye Horror for more stories that will make you question what's real and what's lurking just beyond the edge of your mind.